a bank, and that bank could at some point look at the project and say, hey, we're calling this. Everything's costing too much. One of the things that I always think about is, what would most of us do if we didn't have the fear of failure? If we didn't have the fear that someone would judge us for being a fool, what kind of things would we try if that was just not part of our own mental conversation with ourselves? I don't even think most of us know what that would look like. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This video is going to be a little bit out of order because I've had a kind of scary couple of days, and I'll walk by and show you some of the scary things that are going on around here, and talk a little bit about how I'm feeling about building in this economic environment and honestly in this weather too. So right now I'm standing beside this driveway that currently is at about $8,000 of cost overrun to my budget. And I'm going to show a video right now of yesterday as it was raining a foot and the water that was flowing through here. And maybe I have a video of the water that was flowing through this driveway. It was like a river yesterday again. And over here where we cut those trenches, the water from this side of the hill was flowing down and pouring into it. But the water from this side was going down and it was hitting the trench, but it was also getting out into the road. And this was acting like a riverbed, and water was just flowing down this. So what's happening is I'm just realizing how quickly the cost of a build can get out of hand. You know, we might spend 10 or 15 extra $1,000 on this driveway than we had budgeted for, and the property won't be worth any more after doing all that than it will be, or than it would have been if we were just, you know, building a house a little closer to the road. So this money we're spending on it is just sunk into it for the pure enjoyment of being farther off the road. Now, it might add a little bit to sellability, but it's hard to say that it would really genuinely add that much to the value of the house. The reason that I didn't get more video of it was because there was so much rain coming down while I was videoing that it was making the camera malfunction. It has a touch screen, and I guess it thought because of all the rain that I was giving it a lot of different commands, and it wasn't really working out very well. The next scary thing that was happening was, with all of the rain that we got yesterday, this runoff area where water comes off of this hill goes down to this brushy area and then flows right down past here, was a good 1.5 or 2 feet higher than my pipe that is supposed to be there to send water from the base of my foundation out. So you might be thinking, okay, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal about that is if the water is this much above this pipe, and this pipe is only going down about a foot from the foundation, then as the water line rises here, the water in the pipe and all the way up to the foundation stays still. So imagine that the water came down here and it was this tall. Well, maybe not all of that water is going to go back up there, but it could start to backflow toward the house. It's no big deal at this moment, and it wasn't enough water in the foundation to be filling it up past where the slab will be, but it still wasn't making me happy that it was happening. I think that I have a solution for this problem. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that the solution to this issue is that the water flows from over here down across this surface, and it's just backing up, and where it's getting backed up is actually down here. So I think that if I was to cut and keep this area cleaned out and even maybe grade it out a little bit better all the way out to here somewhere, and just get it to where the water just shoots off of here, comes down past this pipe, and then goes all the way through without creating this buildup like it was right here. What was happening yesterday with the heavy rain was this whole area was actually filling up because down here it was kind of getting pinched into a smaller area. And so I'm thinking that I need to take the box blade and just grade this all out nice and clean and just get this to where it doesn't kind of squirrel back and forth. It just kind of cleanly goes off there. So we were talking about like a foot of rain, and during the rain, when it was backing up there was really just a little bit of standing water right here. And this is gonna have approximately a foot of gravel. All of that gravel is gonna get spread out. All of this gravel that I've piled in here is gonna get spread out evenly, and probably 3 times more gravel than that to get that all built up to where there's a gravel pit of anywhere from 8 inches to a foot of gravel everywhere in here. Luckily, I'm looking at my sump pump pit right over here, and it didn't float. I don't know why it didn't float, but for whatever reason, it is fine. So the second thing that is a little scary to me is this wall right here. I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna show you the scary, let's just say, when a foot of rain comes and you realize that you have broken the rules of building, you just are scared because you realize I've done something that's dumb. And that's kind of what I was thinking about this backfill area right here. So I backfilled just a little bit of dirt here so that I could drive the tractor up and dump my bucket over this edge and dump this gravel pile. In this case, it's probably fine because I have a little bit of dirt pushed up against the foundation, but I have a lot of gravel on the inside, so this dirt isn't gonna push my uncured foundation in that spot. But let me show you the other side. So the other side, which is uphill, is where I have been pushing more backfill. Not a heavy amount, not all that it's going to need, but definitely more backfill. And again, I've been pushing this backfill in because I'm wanting to take my tractor up close to the wall and dump gravel over so that I can get my gravel set, my rebar, my vapor barrier all put in there so that I can get the concrete guys to come and put flat work in here. They suggest that you should give your foundation somewhere between 3 weeks and 28 days, so 3 to 4 weeks to fully cure, because that's how long it takes concrete to fully reach its full strength. Thought I'll just lightly backfill this and I will be able to drive the tractor and dump a bunch of gravel in. Well, I ran out of time, and on that day that I was working, and where I got a massive pile of gravel against the inside of the wall there, I definitely did not get as much of a gravel bed there. So right now I'm sitting here with a slightly backfilled, not fully backfilled. I didn't try to tamp anything in. I didn't use any kind of equipment to settle that, but I have pushed dirt into that hole on the back. And so there's pressure pushing on this wall, and there's not much pressure holding it back. So far, I don't have a crack or anything like that in my foundation, but there has to be more strain on it, and there had to have been more strain on it than is ideal when it was raining a foot yesterday. Yeah, this is just from 1 or 2 days of really heavy rain. That's about 2 feet of unexcavated dirt. Because of the rain coming off of there, it was working its way down in there, brought all this down. Hasn't backfilled it completely, but on this side, unlike my other side, all of my silt fence cloth has stayed in place. Am I really trying not to have it cave in on me? Wow. I wanted to talk about the fears that happen when you're trying to build a house for yourself, especially when you're kind of going it alone. You're not hiring another builder, somebody else to blame for the problems that happen. One of the fears is that you're going to do something like this. You're going to backfill this area like I did too soon, and it's going to rain a foot like it did yesterday, and that wall is going to crack and get pushed in. That didn't happen, but it did keep me up at night while the rain was coming down, and I was worried about it all day yesterday. Another fear that kind of wells up inside of you is that with all of the economic stuff, all of the tariff wars talk and all of this stuff and lumber prices going up and down, that your original estimates that you had for building the house are going to be far short of completing your project. Now, that could be a very real reality. One thing that has already cost us way more than what I was expecting is that little strip of driveway that comes up from the road and up to here. For some people, $8,000 doesn't mean much at all in their project. But when you're trying to shoestring and build something yourself and DIY as much as you can, and you get the bill for an extra $8,000 of bobcat work, gravel coming in to cover the driveway and to fill in under your footers or under your slab work, it's a little stressful. And knowing that you're doing this with a bank and that bank could at some point look at the project and say, hey, we're calling this, everything's costing too much. Those are the kind of fears that happen when you let fear take over your mentality. Oh, here's the other fear. I'm doing this garage different than anyone in our region does it right now. I'm using these foam forms to create an insulated, shallow slab instead of doing the typical thing, which is to dig trench footers 3 foot down and have a footer that is 3 feet to 4 feet in the ground under your garage. Why am I doing it that way? Because I thought it was going to be a cost-effective way to get an insulated slab. I don't know. We'll see. When it's all said and done, will all of the extra effort and all of the extra gravel and everything pay off? I really don't know. Seemed like a great idea when I started it, but some days when it's raining a foot and you're thinking about the fact that your foundation might cave in if there's too much dirt in it, and we've got all kinds of dirt caving in against our foundation, and I backfilled some dirt, and part of it could be just environment, part of it could be my own stupidity. Fear starts to take over. But here's my personal anecdote on it at the moment. If you're acting out of fear, if whatever you're doing, and this is like the story that I just have to keep thinking about for myself. Are you living in fear? Are you acting? Are you doing whatever you do because of fear of failure? And what is honestly the worst thing that can happen? Don't tell my wife, but the worst thing that can happen is that we can't finish this project and we lose our house. But that's always the case anyway. One of us could get sick and we could incur massive medical bills and lose our house. We could have something terrible happen to us. We could have something terrible happen to one of our kids. Whatever happens to you in your life, whether it's because you did something that was dumb, ill-built a house, or ill-advised bought something that was foolish, and it doesn't make you any more wise because, no, you tried to build a house, you tried to build a homestead, you tried to start a business, you tried to any number of things that don't work out. Sometimes things don't work out. The best laid plans of mice and men don't work out sometimes. So what's your option? Sit around and wait to die and don't do anything because that's scary, because that's dangerous, because people don't do it that way, because any number of things. If I let fear dictate what I'm going to do in life, my life doesn't really amount to much to me at that point. It's not a sermon that I'm preaching to myself to do foolish things, but more of just a reminder that whatever is going to happen in your life is going to happen because you set out to do something. The result may not be immediately good, may not be immediately bad too, but at the end of the day, the result of you trying to do something is that something moves, something happens. And fear is a liar. Fear is not going to let you do whatever it is that you're trying to do. So, over the course of the day, as I'm thinking about my foundation caving in and thinking like I'm going to come over here and it's going to be like a folded up cardboard box, I have to keep reminding myself. Oddly, it's Easter. So on Easter Sunday, we go to church and we're talking about the risen Savior. And I'm off and on worrying about my caving in house. How foolish is that though? Think about it. You're talking about someone who conquered death, and all you can think about is a house that you're building that might cave in. That'd be bad. For sure it'd be bad. And I'd look like an idiot for having backfilled it or for having tried to do something. For a minute. But oddly, it kind of pales in comparison to what that man did. Honestly, it's ridiculous to even have it going through my head on Easter Sunday. How foolish it will seem if my house goes down in a torrential downpour. And how foolish it was for me to push a little bit of dirt up against it before it was ready. In light of the fact that Jesus is crucified and all of his disciples are scattered and they're scared and they're hiding. I bet to many he looked like a fool and they looked like fools in the moment. And this isn't any comparison to that, but he did have the final word. And fear, if you let it, will have the final word. So I'm committed to not letting fear have the final word in my mind and in my soul, and realizing that the worst thing that could possibly happen to this project is probably not the worst thing in the world. So, like and subscribe if you want to see more of this house build. If you don't want to see some fool try to build a house by himself, then don't watch this. I'll catch you on the next one.